People deluded. I hope you all can hear me nice and fine, and if you can't, hold it up. But Fridays equals Q&A days. Now you guys know I'm a man of the people. I try and give you lot the content you want. I try and answer your questions, and I also run this because without you lot, I'm nothing in it. And I like the interactions we get. So yeah, it's Q&A. You're all smart enough to know what a question and answer show is. So with that being said, thank you very much for the questions. Again, I'm never going to be a low life and invent the questions myself. So yeah, some people ask regular questions, some people have asked a question for the first time, and some people are a bit sporadic with it. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how diverse the question is, as long as it's not weird. Yeah, as long as it's logical and it doesn't even have nothing to do with football necessarily, I'll answer it, man. So thank you for your questions, but I'm wasting time. Where do we start? From top to bottom. Let's start with Mike Hunt, because I saw this comment very recently and I said I'll tackle it in this episode. He said, this is maybe a controversial take on things, but could it be possible that Mislintat leaving will mean more chances for Arsenal youth players? He's been tasked with bringing in young players, young affordable stars, Torreira, Guendouzi, etc., for example, who have got in the way of progression of some of our youngsters. What's your thoughts, Deluded? I see what you're saying. You're just basically playing devil's advocate. I'm not too sure how true that necessarily is. For Guendouzi, you could say, okay, him coming into the team has meant the likes of Joe Willock's not really going to get chances. And if you look at if the likes of Dragomir, Benassia, all of these other midfielders that have left the club, if they were still here, what would it mean for them? I don't necessarily think he blocks people. Yes, it's harder for the likes of Charlie Gilmore and Guendouzi who haven't played minutes, or Shafe who can play centre back or central midfield. Or even if you look at Matt Smith in the under-18s, yeah, you could say at the end of the day there's an extra body, so there's a pathway. But I don't necessarily feel so, because I personally felt there was a case for two central midfielders to arrive. I still think there's even a case for two central midfielders as it is. Ramsey leaving could present opportunities, and at the same time you want a pathway, but we also need to remember we're trying to be competitive, which we're actually doing a poor job of, competing with the top six, competing to try and get into the top four, competing to try and win major honours. So although I want to see young players come through in the pathway, you have to be very careful or decide what we want. Do we want to have a blend, which all the clubs are trying to do, and it's an impossible task? Or do you want to be a development farm, which means we'll further slip away because we're developing players, at least we'll slip away for the next 2 years? Or do you want to go for trophies, in which youngsters will have an issue? There is no one way of looking at things. There's no way of looking at possible success. It is more or less sink or swim, and it's down to chances. I don't think Mislintat signings ever blocked anyone. Yeah, you could say again he brought in Mavropanos as well. You could say some centre halves in the club might have been pushed back, but I wouldn't necessarily say that. By the same logic, he's brought in Mavropanos. Koscielny needs to be moved on. Mustafi possibly as well. Socrates isn't that old. Holding's got youth on his side. Chambers, remains to be seen. So with that being said, and the shuffling, there's still space for Bielik to possibly come through, for Medley and possibly Daniel Bullard to progress if true. Torreira was needed. I don't see who's bringing in Torreira's skill set within the club. To be honest with you, probably Benassia is probably the closest to that of all the youngsters that have departed. So I get you, but you could say it would mean more chances. Maybe if we're not getting the players as rapidly as he wants, or we're choosing to move away from a different scouting outlook, you could say that, and I wouldn't say it's wrong. But I do think regardless, Arsenal have always had a big influence on young players, especially nowadays, or the last 18 months, where they're still lying to us, but it's more or less become obvious that you're seeing we can't bring in loan players, and Unai Emery is a head coach versus a manager, and he has to kind of work what he has and develop players, and we have a commitment of one player every 2 seasons. So I don't think it would have been a case of that. Personally, I feel obviously he's leaving now, but with him being there, I think it was a case of we bring through our academy players and stuff like that, but we scout the best of the best wherever they are. If they're better than what we have, which should be the logic of most clubs, fair play. So I think there's a level playing ground for both, regardless of Mislintat staying or going or someone else coming in, my guy. Thanks for the question. Mark Pease asks, Deluded, who would feature in your all-time Arsenal team? That's a good one, my guy. Green tea and honey, people allow me, man. It's a good mix, and I'm a bit ill, so I need that. Should have really just had ginger, but all-time one, you put me on the spot in goal. Between Lehman and Seaman, for me personally, people, I wasn't there seeing Pat Jennings and them and there, so you know what? I'm gonna go with my guy David Seaman. I'm gonna go with David Seaman. He'll probably change it to Lehman. That's the hardest one. Centre half's an easy one for me, anyways. In fact, it's harsh on Kolo Toure, but for me, I've got to go Tony Adams and Sol Campbell. For me personally, left back I'm going with Thingy. Left back I'm going with Ashley Cole. As much as I hate him, in fact, no, I was just about to say Sagna. As much as I hate him now, I think he was a consistent fullback, but I'm gonna go with Lauren. So it's gonna be Lauren and Cole. Centre half in Tony Adams and Sol Campbell, behind them David Seaman. We're gonna go 4-3-3 to make things a bit easier. Central midfield. It's a tough one, man. We've seen ballers at this club. Central midfield. I'm actually going to do a weird one. Central midfield. In the 10 position, I'm going with Dennis Bergkamp, so he can kind of support Omri, which would be the striker. I'm going with Patrick Vieira in the midfield. And there's a lot of good midfielders. Patrick Vieira. I think I've got to go Patrick Vieira, Gilberto Silva, man. That will just let Dennis Bergkamp do whatever he wants. On the wings, I'm going with Alexis Sanchez and Dennis. Dennis. I just said Dennis. Why would Dennis play on the wings for me? And that's not even his best position. I'm going with Alexis on the right, and I'm going to go with Perez on the left. And up front, I'm going with Thierry Henry, my guy. So hopefully that would be a team that's worthy of your question. Special shout-outs go to Winterburn, obviously. Who else could I have included? Dixon. There's a couple players. I think possibly I played devil's advocate. Santi Cazorla could have possibly been in here. Lomberg and Ray Parler, they're my guys, but I couldn't really include them. It's a tough one. I'll probably change, man. You put me on the spot and it's a bit early. Nonetheless, thank you for your question, my guy, man. It means a lot. Tavin's asks, shout out to you, Tavin. How can we let the best maybe I can't read today. How can we let the best scout in the world go? I'm not too sure if he's the best scout, my guy, but how can we let someone of this level of expertise go? I'm not too sure. If you read the reports, it looks like he alienates himself a lot at Arsenal, and I would do the same if I knew the other people around me weren't on it. And it's sad because you look at Bayern Munich, that's a great job for him because they'll be able to sign the players he goes out and requests. They want to do a rebuilding job sort of thing. It would also help Bayern Munich. I know Bayern Munich have a good hierarchy, and although they might not necessarily have they do have a sporting director, but they might not necessarily have the role Mislintat would play. It would further allow them to do things without relying on the manager sort of thing. That's one thing I like about Bayern Munich, in that managers can leave and stuff, and it can go against you, but it's kind of similar to United of old in that there's several figureheads and stuff like that. So he's got a great job awaiting him if true, and Bayern Munich do want him. So yeah. Ezra's asked, what do you think about the apparent transfer news of James Rodriguez to Arsenal and the swap deal with Ozil going to Madrid? I haven't seen the swap deal stuff, and I'm not too sure how that would work because he is on loan. He's on loan in Germany, and it was an £11 million loan move. I have seen reports that we'll pay $3 million towards that. I would take James, but I mean it doesn't really make sense because if you see James, you would probably initially think that he runs more than Ozil, that he's more of an action sort of creative midfielder than Ozil, and more importantly, you think he's less poetry and motion than Ozil, in a sense. But don't get me wrong, I'll take James. He's coming with goals. He doesn't really score that many, to be fair, and assists, but he's got a decent amount, and he's a good player, but he doesn't track back too tough. I mean, I actually think Ozil probably runs more than James Rodriguez without knowing their stats, because James Rodriguez, he's going to do the same things Ozil does. He's going to let you down sometimes, not tracking back at times. Defensively, he's not going to be quite there. He's going to go missing at times as well. And what scares me is that regardless of your opinions on Ozil, if you kind of look at Unai Emery's track record dealing with big personalities or people in general, he's for every people, and he does get praised for being a good manager and stuff because he is, but you see the likes of Thiago Silva alienating him as the captain, Dani Alves, Pastore, Di Maria, Verratti, Lucas Moura, now with Ozil and several other players. Like it doesn't really fill you with any confidence. I don't think Unai Emery can handle big personalities, in my opinion. I think he's personally on an ego trip as well because he's gone. You look at PSG to Arsenal. That's almost like Rafa Benitez's move to Newcastle from Madrid. It's a complete separate ends of the scale. Obviously, it's not as dramatic as Newcastle and Real Madrid because we're still a top 6 club of sorts, so it's not as dramatic, but still dramatic. But if you look at PSG, on top of just having to win champs and things, there's several things going against you. There's a lot of people. Obviously, he's getting his luxury to sign players and stuff like that. I actually have a vid on that. But you're seeing the likes of Neymar and things, and Mbappe, he's not asking for them. They're being signed without his say-so. There's big personalities in the club. And then he's going to Arsenal in the sense that we're trying to rebuild. There's lesser big stars. It's more of a harmony sort of thing. There's more young players. There's less scrutiny if he doesn't win trophies or things like that. Like his 4-0 at PSG. If he was to do something similar at Arsenal, people would ask questions, but it'd be to a lesser extent. In fact, people just praise Unai Emery for a lot of things which he shouldn't get praised for, as much as I like the guy. So it's a tough one, man. I would like James, but I don't see how realistic it is as well when you consider. Obviously, I think we can pay $3 million in the loan fee, but we'd have to surely, to make this lucrative, there's got to be an option of a permanent, which I don't think we can pay his wages. I think he's 27, turning 28. So with the same logic with Aaron Ramsey, would it make sense buying him? I'm not too sure. And again, I rate him, so he's an exception to the rule, but some of the people we've been linked with kind of don't make sense in terms of the model we're looking for. We're trying to move players on for allegedly being old, but we're looking at Benega and James Rodriguez. I'm not saying either player is old. I'm just trying to poke holes in the consistency based on reports. So I'm not too sure, my guy, man. But love for the question. Another guy, consistent, man, my guy. What's your thoughts on J. Emmanuel Thomas's recent move to Thailand? Boy, this is one of the first times finding out about that when I saw your comment. And it just shows how diverse football can be, to be honest. He's played for Billericay, Arsenal, QPR. I must admit, when I did see him coming through the academy, and it's sad to say he didn't hit even a fraction of the heights of his potential, which his potential he had, but I never would have saw him move to Thailand. But at the end of the day, if he's still earning a living playing a game he loves, a game that many of us would have died to play for, fair play to him. But it just shows you how diverse your career could be, because when he looks back or he tells his grandkids he spent a time in Thailand, and it's just like when I said with Iwobi and Maitland-Niles, you look at Iwobi, obviously Nigerian heritage. He played for Nigeria at a World Cup. I'm so sure. Has he played at African Cup of Nations? I could be wrong, but he's going to play that, to which he's going to see a lot of other African nations. If he wasn't as a professional footballer, he might not necessarily saw. But playing for Arsenal, he's gone Singapore, Australia, China, and he's an inner city London kid. So the experiences you can get from football and seeing the different walks of life and seeing things that a lot of people, myself included, only see on YouTube and Instagram and Google Images is fantastic, man. So yeah. FA asks is, do you go to under 23 games? How do you get tickets? I do go to under 23 games and I pay just like anyone else, to be fair with you. Yeah. I get that question a lot. I'm not yeah, it's not no rocket science. I just go to games. You just got to go to Boreham Wood, or you just got to go to wherever Arsenal's under 23s are playing. It's a lot of work on the trains and stuff, like Brighton and that, but it's what it is. So if it means that much to you, you'll go. But Usman's asked, what if Arsenal tried to implement the same strategy as Dortmund and Monaco, blending in youth with veterans' experience? Could we perform better this way? You could say to a degree that's what we're trying to do, but probably less so to the extent of Monaco. Like, Arsenal have a defeative attitude, but I think Monaco, within their context, or Dortmund more so, they'll accept it, or their fans will accept it because of the dynamics they're going against. But in regards to Dortmund, I've seen actual reports that they actually want to stop selling to rival teams, specifically to Bayern Munich and stuff, and they have a good chance of actually, ironically, almost winning the league this year. So, got a good chance. Monaco, yeah, man, I've seen Monaco do a lot. I've seen Monaco, no offense, be a nothing club. Then I've seen them try and do Galacticos. Then I've seen them do this, and now they're in their current state. It's going to take a while to get back to it. I do think that's the angle we're trying to do to a degree, in a sense that we're trying to find competent players that are not necessarily known and blood them in, and the same kind of thing with youngsters, and promote our academy and try and find these little deals here and there. So there are some truth into that, but we're not doing it to the level them lot are doing, because you see with Monaco, they spent 20 million or so on Goubels from Lyon, and so they believe in him. So it is what it is. We can only sign players on loan, so these clubs are probably in a better state than us on that logic. Again, Tarek asks, what's your thoughts on the contract that Oxlade-Chamberlain apparently was playing on at Arsenal, whereby the club was paying Southampton based on him playing a certain amount of minutes? I've seen that one quite often, and I don't know how true it is, but it wouldn't surprise me, because these sort of clauses, not specifically that, but there is always weird and wacky sort of clause in players' contracts or when they move club, both that can benefit the player or benefit a previous club or club. And you have heard this a lot of times. There's been players, admittedly I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but the first thing that came to my head when I just read this question is that how many times, more so back in the days, if that when players went on loan or something, there was always a fee invoked, or automatic fee or automatic clause if he's played a certain amount of minutes or games, and people would be out of the side and things like that. So it's nothing new, and it wouldn't surprise me as well, my guy. But obviously, I'm not a scout or coach or in the know like that, so I'll never be able to verify that and see the validity of it. So yeah, man, that's my opinions, my guy. Love for the question. Raphael's asked, Deluded, what do you think of Kieran Tierney in the summer? I like him, plus he's homegrown. Could he make the step up? He could make the step up, my guy. He's going to cost Arsenal a pretty penny, which means we're probably not into it. And he's Scottish, so I'm not too sure if that counts as homegrown. I don't think it does. If you're correct, then you're correct, my guy. But one thing you're definitely correct on is that Kieran is a bad boy footballer, and I will take him. And he's obviously he's not Van Dijk, they're completely different, but he's one of them. When Van Dijk was at Celtic, you were kind of looking like, okay, when is someone going to take a chance? When is he going to make the move up? Because I don't want to say he's outgrown the league, but you probably, for me, I'd say him off the top of my head. Obviously, Dembele's left and went to Lyon. And what's that guy? Is it Morelos or something of Rangers? I'm not watching Rangers religiously, but there's just certain names you're thinking, alright, cool. Is a British team or another more reputable team from a possible another league going to take a chance on these players? I agree with you, man. The scouts of numerous clubs, ourselves included, have clearly ran the ball over Kieran Tierney as well. Maybe they've even tried to get him, I don't know, but there's got to be a reason he's at Celtic. I know he signed a new deal and he's a big fan of Celtic, and I think he said he wants to stay there for life. Footballers always say that, but maybe clubs have tried to negotiate and they've deemed him too expensive. I guess we'll never know, my guy. But I like him for what it's worth. Teki Torreira's asked 3 questions, and he's asked, oh wait, I missed out a question from Bello, man. He's asked, if you were Hudson-Odoi, who would you sign for? Bayern Munich or stay put at Chelsea? Well, like I tell my friends when we have this debate, if I'm Odoi, I've got all the balls in my court, and I'm waiting until May, to be honest with you. I mean, if the offers of Bayern Munich's right there, and I would consider it based on you're seeing links that Mislintat's going, because that probably shows you they're looking at a youth focus. I mean, it's Bayern Munich. It's a chance. They're currently in a better state than Chelsea of sorts in that they're in the Champions League, and that it's Bayern Munich as well. There's certain teams, if I'm a footballer, if they offer me stuff, I'm listening. I mean, it's obviously I'm an Arsenal fan, so if Arsenal offer me stuff, Munich is one of them. PSG nowadays, Juventus is historically the big ones for me is Barcelona and Madrid. Obviously, if they come, you've got a goal, in my opinion. And actually, historically, Manchester United, actually, as much as I hate them and their club and their fans, but there's some clubs, if they come calling, you've got to listen, in my opinion, my guy. So I think he's in a unique position. If I was him, I'd consider the Munich thing, but if I was him, I'd probably wait it out to the end of the season, not sign any new deals. Seeing is believing. See how much football I've played, see how much I've featured into Surrey and Chelsea's plans, and if I've deemed that I'm levels now and they're playing me and I've played a lot, then by all means sign a new deal. But if not, you're in a good position because you're contracted until 2020. Chelsea will have to sell you. So you can I wish more players would do that, to be honest with you. So that would be me. Back to the other question with Teki Torreira. He's asked, who do you think has the bigger potential, Holding or Mavropanos, and do you think they could be our future partnership? I do hope they could both be suitable players in the future for Arsenal. I think Mavropanos has got a lot of potential, but I've seen Holding a lot more, obviously. So I'm going to say Holding. I think Mavropanos has potential, but we've only seen a handful of games. He still needs to adjust to this player level. He's played well. Was it in the Carling Cup against Chelsea? I could be wrong. Definitely played well against Man United away from home last year. But if you remember the sending off against whoever it was as well. So I've seen Holding more. And don't get me twisted, Holding's got a lot to work on as well. So seeing is believing, my guy. Hopefully they become the partnership. But I also want a centre-half that's ready-made. So is it really feasible? I do think in the next 2-3 years it'd be lovely if we could be going into games on the weekend and debating if both should start or one should start, or just having 3 to 4 centre halves that are levels and could be thrown in at any moment and do the job. That would be me. You've also asked, who do you think have the best youngsters academy in the league? It's got to be Chelsea. I mean, a lot of our players have been released from there and they're serving us well. I don't know what is credit to Chelsea, whatever in the coaching water, with their coaches, with the player levels they're scouting in terms of catchment areas as well. So they're doing their best in that department, man. But Man United and us also have good academies. In fact, all of them. Liverpool, you see in their players, they've got Kai, the young 16-year-old who just made his debut. Curtis Jones is there and about. There's a lot of potential. Everton got some good players as well. City got some ballers. Everyone in the Prem's got ballers, man. Even Bournemouth, to a degree, to be fair with you. And you've asked me finally, do you think Dortmund can hold on and win the league? Seeing is believing. I hope they do it. To be fair with you, it looks like they can, but I think mathematically Bayern Munich can catch up. So if we pre the group table, the league table quickly. Apologies for shaking up the screen, people. Bundesliga table. I hope they do it. They got a good lead. They were on 42 points. Bayern Munich are second on 36. Gladbach are on 33, and Leipzig's on 31. So Leipzig's not really in it, but the three clubs there, it looks juicy, innit? Mathematically, it's possible. I hope Dortmund don't bottle it and they stay onto it, because it'd be good for just football to see someone other than that Bayern Munich win the league. Unless you're a Bayern Munich fan or player or connected to the club, you're probably the only ones that want them to win this trophy. So I love Bayern Munich to do it. I mean, Dortmund to do it, sorry. But mathematically, it's still possible for Munich to get back in the game, to be fair with you. There's only been 17 matches played, so allegedly. So seeing is believing. Anything can happen, my guy. And at least if nothing more, it's an interesting one for the fans. But I don't think I'm missing anyone's questions out, people. Like I said, thank you each and every time for these questions. But on that note, I'm gonna have to keep it pushing. So people deluded. If you wish, comment, subscribe, and do the rest. I'm out though.